So, let's see, before I jump straight into it, I'm going to just troll around a little bit here for about 1, maybe 2 minutes. I forgot to upload the previous video before I started, which I usually try to do, if I can remember. Yeah, here it is. Okay, export this to YouTube. Let me see, though. I want to make sure I remember the naming scheme I used here. Yeah, there we go. Alright. So next, I got that done. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this refresh thing that I left as my first tweak to the API. And the hard part here is deciding how to know when to send the refresh events. Not actually implementing it. The refresh is already implemented. The question is, when do we need to refresh? In the case of the buffer list changing, or in the case of the buffer switch list, we need to refresh when the buffer list would change at all. But do we get... how do we... it's complicated. I mean... yeah, what happens there? I'm not really sure. Like there are different events that would force a refresh for different situations, basically, right? So if the buffer list has just changed, if the buffer list has just changed, then the buffer switch and buffer kill list want to be notified. If a file has just been created in the hot directory, then the file list wants to be notified. That's a very different notification situation, and there could be completely other unrelated notification situations that other lists might have. So it's not really a thing where I can just abstract it by saying, hey, here's the event that we are bound to for a refresh. And that's a bit daunting. How do I do this then? I mean, I can easily say, hey, anytime I notice that a buffer is being created, do something, because I have the access to the hook that tells me when a buffer is being created. So I know that new buffers get created when that happens. It's just, how do I want to link that up? What if there are two different views that are both looking at different buffer list type things? How have they both linked themselves up to get notified when that hook is called, right? Basically what we're talking about is I kind of have these different events, and I want to be able to put listeners on and take them off of those events. And that's not the way my hook system currently works. So I think, yeah. Let me try something. This might be a regression that we have to live with a little bit. So I'm going to load the project. We might have to live with this regression for a few versions while the API, until the new engine comes out, because I don't really feel like going whole hog on fixing the way event notifications happen until I do a couple other things with it simultaneously. But yeah, if I just re-execute the command, it fixes it. So I think that answers my question for now. Which is, we aren't going to actually call the refresh directly. I'll leave that in there so that if anyone ever wants to refresh, like, I think the file lister will want to refresh manually in its commands. So Jim asked, what about just something general, like a buffer or file change has been identified anywhere? Yeah, I could make a thing that's like, what I'm getting at is I don't know, suppose there are 5 different things that all want that notification. I don't want to go through the process of building the whole subscription, unsubscription thing right now. Because what I'm talking about then is I have one thing to subscribe to. I still have to build the system of how I allocate the nodes that get added and removed from the listener list, or how something like this. And I'm it's obvious to me these days that the hook system is totally broken and that the command map system is totally broken, because you don't get the kind of control over event management that you want. For example, hooks would be better if you could just subscribe multiple callbacks to them, but once you subscribe them, in this case you also want to be able to unsubscribe them, which makes it a whole different thing where it's more like, I don't know, a linked list of hooks that you are maintaining rather than a series of hooks that get added at startup time into a list that get just plowed through every time you call it. And it's also, at some point there should be hooks or callbacks or events of some kind that notify you when, for instance, a child process has more output, so that instead of a child process always just piping into a buffer and you have no control over that, that would become a custom layer thing where you get events telling you that more stuff is coming in from a child process, and you do whatever you want with that. You can split it across 2 buffers, hide it, put it into a buffer, clear what was there, and put the new stuff into the buffer. Put it onto your clipboard. I don't know. Point is, there's a lot I have to do to fix event handling in general in the new engine, and until then I don't really want to go down the road of implementing some kind of subscription, subscribe, unsubscribe support for event management. Now, yeah, so the easiest thing would be if there were certain events that just spammed a refresh event out to all views, kind of like the animate event. Right, so we have, whoops, didn't mean to do that. You already told me about, I lost the link of the web page. What keyboard are you using? Oh, I'm using the code keyboard. Just look for, let me double check. Yeah, just look for code keyboard. That'll come right up. So, for instance, I have key animate. This spams a message out to every view that is animating, or when animation is happening, I guess, right? I could just do a sort of refresh spam event that goes to each view, and then they could bind their refresh as a command. There's also the question of I guess you create that, you press enter, so you saw it from the last frame, you press enter, you're gonna hide it now. What if every view, every time we run, always gets sent a... No, I don't want to refresh that fucking often. But I wouldn't have to. I would spam this out, and we would have some kind of thing that's like, check if refresh is necessary. And the way we check if refresh is necessary is to look at a global state counter and see if it has changed. Because once we have a code path lighting up, we can just check a previous versus current integer somewhere. And that current integer can be a counter that increments every time a new buffer is created, so that any time a new buffer is created, anyone who had a buffer counter from previously now knows they're behind. This wouldn't work for the file list, but the file list already had the bug we're trying to remove anyway. Yeah, I think the easiest way to do this is to have a counter that is increments once every time a buffer change happens. This is something I want to build into the core, is change counters anyway. Like, each buffer should have its own change counter. There should be a global change counter for every time a buffer gets created, and there should be some other change counters for like changes to the clipboard, right? And then the way you can find out if you are behind in state, behind the thing that you are trying to keep up with, is to see if your number is less than theirs, and then if it is, you update and save their current number. And that would work in this case. Then the only problem that I was still unsure about is, how do I get that code path to light up? Right? I could just say that there's a certain event that gets spammed to every view every time, whether that view is active or not, no matter what happens in a frame. When if 4coder wakes up, it spams this event to everybody, so that everyone has a chance to wake up a code path. Now, you would only get one of these because, again, my command map stuff doesn't let you have multiple things bound up in a chain on a single event. You know, it's not that critical. It's very rare that I change the active buffer list, and I think for a few versions I could live with this regression. Because I feel like everything I'm thinking about, I'm just unhappy with the kind of extra cruft I have to add to carry us over until we have a real event processing in the new engine. And heck, I wouldn't even necessarily have to wait till the new engine. I could do a separate build before the end of the year with better event processing. Yeah, that would actually be a good idea. Try to transition us off of some of this shit before the change, because one of the big things I'm worried about is when I do a big API change, I don't want everyone to look at the new API and be like, I don't even know how to transition to this one from the old one. So maybe what I ought to do is anything that I can implement in the current API, or any change I can implement in the current API, I should make a few transition builds. So that's actually not a bad time to get this right. Okay, yeah. We're going to live with this regression for now that we have to manually refresh by running the command again. We already have to do this for the file list. So now we just have to do this for the buffer list as well. And this will get fixed as soon as I have event processing that works properly. Yeah. Okay. You know, I'm seeing a road now to 4.10 that's very different than I originally imagined, but probably much smoother for users who need to adapt their API as I change it. Okay, I'm happy with this as our resolution. I'm going to leave this regression in place. Sorry to anyone who relies on their ability to open a file and then switch to the buffer list, or keep their buffer list open through that buffer being opened. That's not going to work anymore. Hopefully your workflow wasn't based on that, because that would be a really odd thing for you to base your workflow on. So I can already tell you that we have one limitation in this lister wrapper. This isn't even the highest level lister wrapper we're going to make today. We're going to end up, or maybe later in the next 4coder Friday, at some point we'll be making yet another lister wrapper on top of this one. But for now, activation code, activation function type, app, summary view, user at data. Sorry, I was just thinking about something. Zoning out again. So, the thing that this doesn't give you access to that you really want to see is, in addition to the user data, when we activate, we also want to see the current value of the text field, I think. So let me go deal with the fallout from that. We don't really care what's in the text field for that, so all I have to do is add the parameter for type. For type alignment stuff. Alright. Let's see how this goes. So, we are now going to implement interactive open file. Let's do interactive opener new, shall we? Bye-bye. You know what? Oh my goodness. After this, undo and redo will be the only commands that are still implemented internal to the core. So after this build and the next build, I will be able to eliminate all the command ID stuff from when I first started the custom layer. This command ID stuff used to be before you could write your own commands. This is how you called commands. And now these are the only commands that still exist that go through that system. And we're going to be able to get rid of this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one thanks to the new UI system. We'll be able to get rid of this one and this one because we've always been able to get rid of them. I just haven't bothered to yet. And then in the build after that, we'll be able to get rid of these two when I expose an undo API. This is actually my primary motion through all of 4.0.x has been reducing the size of this list secretly. People don't necessarily, I don't know, some people have probably heard me say this before, and this is still my driving concern, is almost every new feature I'm looking at this list and going, what can I do to move more of these to the custom side? Which is why we're getting close to the end of 4.0x. Anyway, interactively open a file off of the hard drive, out of the file system. Okay, so to make this work properly, we have to grab the view. Yep, that's right. Start UI mode, set setting. Yep, use that UI map. Grab a state, initialize the state, initialize the lister. Yeah. Generate what is it? Hot directory file list. App. State arena. State lister. Alright, we've just generated a list that we've never generated before using this API. That's exciting. Open is the name of this command, or is the query that we show when we're doing the command anyway. Use the default handlers. Yes, but we're going to change a couple of them. We need a new right character handler. List mode right character file path and backspace. list mode, right character, or backspace, text field, file path. Okay, we got to implement those, and then we just tell it to list mode update UI. Okay, so it looks like literally the only thing I have to do is implement those two commands. It can't be that simple, can it? And if that is all I have to do, then that's a shit ton of duplicated code, which means there's another layer that we can put this thing on top of still, before we even put the layer on top of that that goes for the easy-to-use user stuff. Oof, wow. There's just so much awesome in this build, guys. Okay. Okay. Okay, there's the other thing I have to do. I knew there was something still wrong. I have to change this to this and activate, open, or new. Okay, I have to write the new activation, and I have to write both of the right character and backspace text field things. So, let me stub these out. Boop, boop, boop. Activate, open, or new. Return lister activation finished. Okay, do nothing and then say that we're done. That's not what it'll really do. This is a stub, right? And then we want to find the right character default. Good. And we're going to grab those because we need the file path versions of these. So what happens differently when we're editing a file path? Well, for one thing, if we insert a slash, we do something different for the file path stuff. I'm going to pull up Bitbucket and look at how the old one used to work to remind me of the features I need to create. 1 second. There's the inserting a slash, backspacing a slash, and there's also the matter of when you activate, sometimes you don't finish, you refresh the list. You change your hot directory and refresh the list. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doo, zoopy-doopy-doo. I think we need this file right here. Except that this is too recent. I need to back up. No way. Wait a minute. View UI was not made in 2015. That was a 2018 invention. I must have not updated this. That was the date when from the view file, not from the view UI file. Okay, anyway. Alright, now I'm secretly scrolling around in my repository on the off-screen screen. Yada yada yada, lots of nonsense. I need sys file lists. I know the name of it now. So if we see a new line, we behave that way. That's how we create the list. So I see, if I press new line, single file input step, that's what I need. App single file input step. That calls app single line input inner. With the file mode set. Okay. this is where I need to be. So if I see a backspace, I'm not doing backspace right now. Yeah, okay, character does not equal 0. Good. If the character we're seeing is not modified, then what do we do next? We're figuring out what we're going to insert. Okay, so we still do the insert like we normally would, but then if it's slash, okay, that's not that bad. So that is really the only change for character input. So we do this work all the same as we used to, but before we go ahead and do that update part, we're going to check and see if the character 0 is equal to a / or if it is equal to a backwards slash, because in those circumstances we do something a little bit wild. Let's see, now I can't fully follow what this code says because it's not the same as what this code needs to do, but basically the idea goes something like this. We need a temp memory on that scratch arena, and then we want to make a new string that's new hot directory, which we get by oh wait, no, we don't need to do that. It's in the text field. The text field is the new hot directory. So we just need to look up directory set hot, because naming things is not important. Alright, what's the string? The string is text field dot stir, and the length is text field dot size. Okay. Okay. Alright, let's see. So that sets the hot directory. If we successfully set the hot directory, then what we're going to do is clear the key string, basically. Right? Because the key string is the thing we search by. We've just updated the hot directory, so now we want the key string to be empty again. Hope that makes some sense. So we're just gonna have to go like that. Right? And now when you're typing, if you put in a slash, it sets the hot directory to the whole string, and then the thing it uses to filter the list goes back to nothing, because you now have the file name at the front of the directory is now empty again. So the text field actually behaves normally throughout this whole thing, when you're inserting characters at least, but the key string has to be maintained differently. really I could do to make this as easy as possible to get right, what I'm going to do is this. We just always do that. And then instead of modifying this like we were, we're going to say that the state lister.keyString constantly gets copied over. We replace it over and over again. We replace its contents every single time with, I'm going to go over to my string.h here, get front, move last folder, path of front of directory. Text field. So we get the front of the directory off the text field, which is what this is always supposed to be equal to. Whatever's in the front of the directory, even if it's an empty string. Now I need to double check how front of directory actually works. Reverse seek slash +1, starting from the end, I guess, because it's reversed, right? So that will return an empty string if the last character on the thing is a slash. Perfect. Alright, that's great, that's amazing. So this can just be copied down to here. That's how that needs to behave. And then the only other rule that we need to change is that if we backspace a slash, we usually kill the whole darn thing. So we have to check what we're backspacing before we do it, I think. But I'm going to read it off of here. So let me read this part of the code. If key code equals key back, then if the string size is greater than 0, I'm going to need that now. If the size of the text field is greater than 0, then we backspace a UTF-8 character. But before we do that, we want to figure out if the thing we're backspacing is a slash. So we go take the whole size minus 1, that's at the end of the string, we grab that. That's the last char. And then we can backspace it, and we say if last char equaled one of these guys, then else, okay, I see, yeah, so normal mode and goofy mode, right? So normal mode's in the else case, goofy mode is right here, and what it does is it removes the last folder from here. Right, right. Oh, but it wants to actually know. So normal mode is this. We backspace. Then if the last char was a slash, we then remove the last folder, because if we don't remove the slash first, then the last folder is already empty. So this makes sure that the last folder is whatever came before that slash, so that we can remove that too. And then the other rule is that this is only applied if the backspace character is unmodified. You follow me? You dig? So what we actually have to do to make this right is we have to go, if we're in this situation, then user input equals get command input, and then we have to check and see if the input hold dot key. Ugh, I don't link to that type. What a dick. Okay, 1 second. Excuse me while I just fix my own documentation problem so that people don't call me out on it while I'm calling everyone else out on their documentation problems. key event data. Ba-doom, ba-doom. Okay, now I need to find key event data. Yep, please link to that for me. Modifiers. Okay. Modifiers. And then I have to check out... Oh, man. Okay. I don't even know what my modifier indexes are. Yikes, that's a problem. So let's go ahead and check out key event data. Very good. Please doxy that. There we go. And now I'm going to go back to the docs. If any of these and these are pretty cool docs though, aren't they? It like figures out how to print this nonsense. Wow. I better not regress this too much. I like these docs. So these can't be used in key bindings. They can only be used when you get user input. But these are part of the command map flags that are supported. But you can't actually use the indexes. You have to use the flags down here. Right. These are the ones that have flags you can use. And these ones do not have flags you can use. Or these ones do not have flags you can use, I mean. Okay, so if any of these are being used, so that's like a is modified type scenario, and so this becomes, well, hold up, boop, or boop, or boop, or boop, and then this becomes a boop, and then this here becomes that, dupe, 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 dupe. Multi-stage multi-stage clipboard, everybody. Honestly, like the number one thing I don't understand that people don't do. Like the jump from a single stage clipboard to a multi-stage clipboard is so trivial, and the work to leverage ratio is amazing. The work to put it in versus benefit ratio, I guess. Okay, and now let's try it. I didn't write the activate yet, but I want to see if the list works. Dude, that's not half bad. It's pretty bad, but it's not half bad. You know what I'm saying? So the problem is I can't backspace before the directory because it's not in there. But I can do this, I think. No, I can't do that. Can I do 4coder API? No, I can't. Okay, so nothing actually really works that well, but it does make the list. It generates that list like nobody's business. Okay. So I often, you know, Gary, I often find myself like in other applications accidentally trying to invoke the multi-stage clipboard because it's just like it's so fundamental to life itself, you know. It's like there's oxygen and there's food, you know, and then it's like which comes next, shelter or multi-stage clipboard? I couldn't honestly say. Okay, so the biggest problem is that when we initialize, we don't set the text fields correctly. We just let it be what it be. And so what we probably want to do is do a list mode set text field string. And the way we're gonna, ugh, it's such a pain in the ass. Okay. See, I just want to call get hot directory app scratch. Right? That's what I want to call right now. Do you all appreciate how easy my life would be if I had written this way? But I didn't. What I actually have to do is go space equals push an array. I'm basically doing work everywhere I ever want to do this that's just duplicated work. That's what's happening here. Get hot directory get hot. Boop boop. Hot size space. Then we directory get hot again. This time giving it space and hot size. We take the new hot size and and then we assert that the new hot size is less than or equal to the hot size, at which point we then can finally build the hot string by going space new hot size, and then we can set the text field. Then these should just be lister. List mode set UI helper .cpp lister set query string lister set text field string. Bada boom, bada bang. This code is like twice as long as it needs to be, and that exists all over the code base because this part here, get the size, push it, read the size, you know, that part there, and then the required assert that I have to do to make sure that everything's kosher every time. That 4 extra lines is completely unnecessary. Everyone has to do it anytime they're trying to get this string. This is why I like to pass arenas in to have them return strings back to me now. Okay. Anyway, I'm out of water, which is tough for me. I don't like being out of water for this long. What we're gonna do is try it again. Right, don't have I32s in the custom layer. Uh-oh, need new headphones. They buzz when I do this. Oh, you dick. Try again. There we go. Actually, I know this isn't going to work because it still didn't work anyway. Oh, I know what I forgot. File path. Yeah, in addition to all of that, before I do this, I need to call the refresh. That was like the whole thing. Lister.refresh. UI helper. Is it just called refresh? Yeah. So if we know how to refresh, then please call refresh with that lister again. And before you do all that, set that arena's position back to 0. Right? So this is basically a lister call refresh type scenario where I just need to pass in that information, and then we can come over here again. It's UI helper, call activate handler, call refresh handler, static void lister call refresh handler, takes the application links, the arena, and the lister, and then it, wherever it would have state arrow lister dotted, it just lister arrows, and anywhere where it would have state arrow arena dotted, it just arena arrows. And anywhere that it would have ampersand state arrowed, it just arenas. And anywhere that it would have ampersand state arrow lister, it just listers. And there we go. Now it's done. We can take that and put it in the bank. There we go. And run. Uh-oh, there's an extra character. That's all messed up. Here's the code. Now it'll only show me things with the word code in it, but it's still not updating the hot directory for some reason. Okay. It's like it's still operating with the same list, you know? But let me play around with it a little bit. So if I type in config, okay, that all works. If I go to 4coder API /, hey, that works now, which is a good sign. So that did update. That did update the hot directory. And if I backspace it to there, okay, so it updates the hot directory at the wrong time is the problem. Right. Yes, of course. Okay. Backspace. Yes. So I'm actually not updating the hot directory at all is the problem. In the backspace one, it's only in the insert. And I only update the hot directory when I insert a /, but that's correct. So the problem then is I need to know when to update the hot directory when I'm backspacing. And the answer is, if I backspace over a /, I always update the hot directory. Okay. New hot equals take me back to the string header thing, path of directory. Remove last folder. Why doesn't that just set it to the path of directory? I don't fucking know. My string library is such a goddamn joke. Okay. So we've backspaced a /. We then take the path of that directory. Yeah, we take the path of the directory, which gives us everything from 0 to the, including the /, before the last word there. And that's our new hot directory. If If it is not modified, then we set it directly to that, and then we're going to directory set hot to the new hot stir new hot size. There we go. There we go. That should pinch it off, you know? Should just clench it right down. Alright. Whoops, didn't mean to split the view. We still have that weird extra character showing up. But with the exception of that, I can type code there, and if I backspace, I lose the entire code. Oh shit. What was that? Holy shit. Code. Okay. If I backspace once, we get this. This is good. If I backspace again, we get this. This is bad. That's not what it's supposed to look like. If I do... Okay, now I can't type. Alright, we're going to need to poke around a little bit. So, what is the deal? Would be my first question. What gives, I think, also comes to mind. And, I don't know. I'd really love to know what's up with that. That looks good. Okay, so there's a problem right there. Path of directory is gonna freak out if there's only one slash. Okay, I want to see what happens every time we do that. Still have that frickin' thing. Let's fix that first, actually. So how is that happening? That's down here. Something about something something. Something something. List text. Make it. New hot size. Okay. Well, are you telling me that that includes a null terminator? It doesn't even say anywhere in the docs because I'm a dick. Okay. Great. Great. Okay. So, there's only one way to fix this then, and that's to just look at it in the code right here. In the debugger, I mean, right here. Bloop. Alright. Show me the hot string. I want to see what it's made of, you know. I want to see what it's got. Yeah, there it is. 0, null terminated. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. New hot size 12, hot size 12. Yep, so that includes the null terminator. Alright, let me fix that in the docs real quick. Directory get hot. Followed by a null terminator. 4coder has a concept of a hot directory, which is the directory most recently accessed in the GUI. Whenever the GUI is opened, it shows the hot directory. In the future, this will be deprecated and eliminated in favor of more flexible hot directories created and controlled in the custom layer. Return. This call returns the length of the hot directory string, including +1 byte for the null terminator, whether or not it was successfully copied into the output buffer. The call is successful if and only if capacity is greater than or equal to the return size. Okay, so that nonsense is gone. And so is any mistakes I made along the way here, hopefully. -1. Directory get hot. These are the kinds of mistakes that don't happen when you pass arenas into functions that return strings back to you, and those strings know their capacities and sizes because the function can just set that kind of information correctly. Okay. There we go. First problem solved. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. If I go open, that looks correct, except I don't have a slash now. You see that? It's missing its slash. It's missing its slash, but it's using that hot directory. Oh, that's a problem. And it's not sorting correctly anymore. I have to sort it again. It's sorting by nonsense instead of by sense. Okay. Yeah, so to fix those things in order, the first thing I need to do is, if this is that, then we're in luck. Because it returned with a null terminator there, I can just trick everybody. I'm going to say add 1 extra, so it comes back. Okay, good. I'm going to make a string with the capacity of hot size +1 here, and then I'm going to append onto that hot string a hot little character like this. Append char. There we go. And then I can not even bother to set null terminate it because I don't even need it null terminated in the first place, which, yeah, is great. So, yeah, perfect. Another problem solved. Shit, but what if there is a slash there? Do I have a ensure? Did I even... Did I even have the wherewithal to write that back then? No, I didn't. So this whole thing here, this only needs to be done if hot.stir hot.size -1 does not equal / and hot.stir hot.size -1 does not equal /. Okay, boom. Alright, that looks good. If I type in API, it doesn't work. It's case sensitive file matching. Oof. Oof. Okay. Many a much to do still. That works. Backspace. Whoops, what was that? Backspace. Okay, here we are. We now get the new hot directory. The new hot directory is this, except I can't tell what it is because it's... Oh, it's so small. Okay, that's the new hot directory, which is good. That's what it should be. The text field becomes that, and then we set the hot directory to that. That works, I presume, but I will check because if you presume, you make a pre out of you and me. And if I presume, I'll do the same thing. Okay, don't care about that nonsense. Okay, not sure why you zoomed out. Stay zoomed in. Yeah, yeah. Right. Okay. Hot directory will be able to be removed soon, actually. Probably as part of the transitional API updates. File list. Alright, the file list has stuff in it. It looks good. It's a good file list. It's a great file list. Backspace again. It does that. That's good. That's the stuff that is in that folder. I backspace again, and what do I get? I get that, which is correct. That's good. I set the hot directory. The key string becomes empty. And that's not right. That's just totally nonsense. That's what was in the original list for some reason. I don't know why it would be doing that. It's not even a matter of... It's giving me what's in the in the current directory? Why would it be giving me an enumeration for the current directory? That's not good. Okay, let's... Uh-oh, now it's doing the input thing again. Okay. Okay. Good. Now I'm going to boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 doop. Don't really care about this. Doop, doop, doop. Call refresh handler. Boop. Boop, 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 boop. There we go. Here we are, generating a new hot directory file list. First things first we do is we get a hot directory string. Good. 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 Ooh. Wait, huh? And then what? Are you all seeing what I'm seeing? It returned to me without the slash. Play that back for me again. Capacity -1, 2. This says he has a size of 3. Why did it tell me up here if capacity is greater than 0, hot directory size 3, but you put a null terminator in there, my man? What about the null terminator? Copy max equals capacity amount. If copy max is greater than copy max equals hot string size, we copy that in. This doesn't make any sense. This is totally busted. This is just wrong sauce. So wrong. So wrong. So wrong. Doesn't make any sense, actually. Copy max is 2. Capacity 3. Capacity has to be greater than 0. Wait, what? 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 I don't know who wrote this, but they messed it up. So the capacity comes in. We find out the copy max, which is basically how much we think we're allowed to copy before we check if the capacity is... I guess we're going to copy as much as we can into the buffer no matter what. And the idea is What, that we return this nonsense, though? I don't know about that. I'm not sure why it behaves that way. Is this okay? Can I do that? Directory get hot. Where are all the places that I even call this? Directory get hot. There's like lists, there's also base commands. Hot dir size. What is this? How does this I, directory get hot name dot size plus equals. No, I can't do that. Okay, so this was returning that has to stay that way. The problem is I should only do this if copy max is equal to the hot string size. And this should be the capacity there. And all that stuff about the null terminator is just gone. Hey, young Lena, I'm alright. Oh, are we back to the thing where Visual Studio's not showing you what I can see on stream? That's too bad. Alright. So, the new idea is if I pass in 3 and I'm saying I have 3 bytes available, and you look at that and you go, okay, you have 3 bytes available, well my string has 3 bytes, so I'm going to copy all 3 in there, and then you don't have any extra space. No, that's not quite right. No, this is all wrong. So the copy max, you know what, why don't we just say that if the capacity is greater than or equal to the hot string size, like we should have all along, then we'll copy that into the output, and then if the capacity is greater than that, we'll be courteous and also throw in a null terminator just for funsies. And that's much simpler. Building forever. There we go. Boom. Boom. Okay, I know that this part works. It's this part that I'm interested in. So we set it to that, and we come in here, and then new actual size, the hot directory, what does it say? dw / new, oof, that says new actual size -1 now. I have to make that not be there. So 536. What file is this? Get out of here. Directory get hot. New hot size +1. Perfect. Open, backspace, yes, backspace, boopy doopy doop, doopy doopy doop, boop, doop 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 doop, doop doop, doop doop doop, 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 Okay. So that's correct now. Nice. Still not sorting properly, but we've got that part. And now I can't insert now. What's happening there? Let's take a look at file path. Boom. Right character this time. Show me what you are tripping on, my friend. So the character, it knows that it's a C, that's 1 byte. It looks at the text field and goes, okay, you have that. Whoa, how did your memory size end up at 0, my friend? Well, that's not good. The key string is fine. Oh, because I can't do that with the Yep. I can't do this because that is carrying a different capacity. What I need to do is just something like this. Boom, 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 and good. And there we go. Doop, 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 doop. Doop. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is handle the activation procedure, and then this is done. Because right now I can type around, so I can insert and delete as I used to be able to, but I can't click or press enter on any of these things to activate, you know? Bah. Yeah. Can't do it. Can't do it. So, our next trick has to be to figure out whether the user data, we know where the user data will be coming from because we know how we're filling these lists, right? These lists, they get filled, we put a slash at the end of the file name, and then we set that file name as the user data right there. Ooh, does build string terminate? Helper. Not freaking goddamn piece of shit. Build string does not null terminate. But that's fine, we can solve that. It's just a matter of dupe, 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 dupe. I suppose I shouldn't change how this works, though. I don't want to rock the boat. No, I'm gonna rock the boat. Time to rock the boat. Boat rockers are in the house. Terminate with null the sir. There we go. Rip, 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 rip. 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 Perfect. Okay. So that's cool. And now Yep. Now when we build strings, we're putting null terminators on them, so that file name.stir is null terminated, which is what we needed. And so now we can go char star user option string equals char star user data. Then what we can do is we can make the file name string, make string slowly on the option string, and then we don't need that line anymore, so bye-bye. Now we have the file name, and we can do what? Well, first thing we can do is check and see if it has a slash at the end of it or not. And then it'll do one of these two things, right? It'll either do this or that. And here comes the check. / or / then if it has either of those, actually it can only be a /, can it? In this case, then continue, otherwise finished. Now what we have to do is activate. Oh man. But it doesn't activate at all if there's no item. What a piece of poopy plan am I coming up with here. Alright. We gotta change stuff a little bit, still tweaking it around the edges here. So if we get a non-zero user data in that case, then we continue. Here, things will be a little bit more subtle. If user data is 0, fun stuff happens, but otherwise, other fun stuff happens. Whew, okay. So, next what we need to do is figure out how to open that file. It's at the hot directory appended with the file name that we're looking at. So we need to create a new buffer, is basically what I'm saying. Let me look at the Bitbucket code on what it did here. So, sys file list, yeah, back to that. When this activates, when does this activate, in fact? If we found a folder, then we update the hot directory with that file name. Yeah, and that's so much easier on the inside because I don't have to do all this darn get set nonsense that I'm gonna have to do now. Shoot. Helper. No, not that helper, like the helper. Just bring up the helper. I knew it. I knew I would have had it. Okay. So we're saved. My mind is safe. I'm okay. Everything is going to be okay now. We're okay. It's gonna be alright. So, I wrote a helper to wrap that nonsense API so that I wouldn't have to do all of this crazy sauce that I've been complaining about all day goddamn. Wait, all day goddamn long. All day long, all day goddamn long. That's an interesting phrase. Boom. Yep. Yep. Get hot directory. Hey, we got Delix27. Ryan, welcome. Alright, so I can go and fix up that other one that I was complaining about too. Perfect. See how much simpler that is? See how nice and tight this get hot directory version is? Pass in your arenas, people. Pass your arenas in. Pass them in. So the reason I'm making weird sounds now with my mouth is because I'm thinking. Because I'm pushing that onto a non-temporary arena that won't get freed for a while. And so I was just checking to make sure I didn't have to do anything else to make it work, and now I'm going to do fanciness. So if hot.stir does not equal 0, then we get the file list, and then we're going to begin temp memory on that arena so that the only thing we're pushing right there and then popping is the one thing, and then the rest of this resumes outside of that. Yes. And then it'll free there, so that won't become a problem. Yep. Okay, that's good. Alright, now I don't have to go completely crazy because whenever I was looking at this thing and I was thinking that I didn't have a get hot directory wrapper for that hot directory get hot call, I did think I was going to lose my mind then. So I just need scratch. Give me access to scratch, please. Just go ahead and temp it up, you know? Nice and temporary. There we go. Grab the file name. No. Right. Yes, get the hot directory right there. I say. Interesting. Anyway, don't get distracted. What we need to do next is figure out the full path to the thing. So, we're gonna just go nutty, if that's alright with everyone else. Okay, and that just gives me a slash if I didn't have one, and then yeah, it's gonna be a neat build. It's gonna be so neat. Alright, so we have a slash on the end of the string, and then what do? We um, 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 we want to put the file name on that string. Oh, wait, why don't I just, be a little bit clever? I don't usually like being clever, but in this case it feels like the right thing to do. Okay. And then we've now just going to go ahead and call this the full file name. Okay. Okay. So that gives us a full file name, and now what we want to do is create buffer. Background, always new, never new, just changed file. I really suck at my job sometimes. Okay. Well, create buffer, grab a buffer summary, create a buffer on the application core using the full file name that we've just constructed, hopefully correctly, and no flags at all. And then, if we got one, then what we're going to do is we're going to view set buffer. And so we do that onto the application core in this view on this brand new buffer. Let me go check those flags real quick. Set buffer flags. Keep original GUI. I think I want that. Keep original GUI. I think that's what I did in this other one. Yes, keep original GUI. Perfect. Okay, so that will work in the case where we click or press enter on a file. What about in the case where we click or press enter on a folder? In such a scenario, what we're going to want to do is stuff, things and whatnot. Sorry. I'll back it back off then. Back in the day, I used to have to put the mic really close, or people would complain it was too quiet. If it's better this way, then that's great. I didn't realize that actually fixed the air problem, because I've noticed that before too. I'll leave it like this. Okay, so in this case, what we're going to want to do is get the hot directory, app, scratch. Then we're going to want to ensure that it has this slashy thing. Hot, Oh. This is just the same thing again. Yeah. That's neat. So that inclines me to say, let us do this instead. Doopy doop, doopy doop, doopy doo. So we can figure out the full file name next right away, whether or not we are opening a file or a folder. Then, if it's opening a file, we create a buffer. If it's changing what folder we're on, then we're going to say, please continue. Oh. Shoot. Okay. We need to be less sloppy here. Alright, and then I've just changed my mind about something else. There we go. And then right, we need to set the hot directory. Boop, boop, boop. Directory set hot. That just takes the full file name like that, and I'm gonna need water. I'm sorry. Gonna be right back. Alright. So now we can click on files, folders, and we can press enter on files and folders, and they just get activated right here according to this rule, which is awesome. Although I also need to refresh. I don't have all the information that I need to refresh. Hold on. There we go. So now I can refresh this view's lister. Right, that won't be a problem. Will it? Let me just check something here. So we call the activation handler. It calls us here. We call the refresh handler, and it's going to call that refresh. And then we're going to say we want to continue, and then right. And then what? Then nothing. No UI update happens. So what do? We can call the UI update as well, but I have a better idea. What if this guy can call the refresh handler, and instead of just calling continue, what if we called, bear with me here, this is a little bit crazy, we return with refresh. Okay, so there's a finished, continue, and refresh. I know I said refresh, but I'm changing my mind. Okay. Oh, and it has a different value than continue. Okay. And then we can switch on the code. And there we go. Boom. 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 Perfect. And we can do that. And then If that happens, we automatically do the refresh work. Now, we already have the lister, and the partition, and the app. App, memory, lister. Now the only remaining problem is that this guy right here isn't over there. But it can't be as long as it takes in a state, and it really heavily leans on that state. Oof. Yikes. This is a mistake. I can call the refresh handler, but the refresh handler can't use the refreshed list to get the refreshed UI unless I literally move all of that to there, which I should have done, obviously. Okay, here we go. UI helper, lister state, renaming things, lister state. There we go. That shouldn't live there. That should live here. Lister state. Good. And then this is boom, view get lister state. This is init lister state. This is lister get clicked item. This here is bloop lister mode update UI. Wait, lister update UI. And now we are done. Build. It won't build. I changed too many names. I changed at least one name. That's how you know it won't build. Bloop. Bloop. Lister state. Okay. Get view relative mouse positions. Okay. All of that, well, literally all of it, including the separator comment, are moving right there. Migration complete. Next. Lister state. Yes, it's quite an adjustment. View get lister state. Lister update UI. It's not made entirely clear to me why the refresh handler doesn't just call lister update UI, but I don't really care. I don't have an opinion on that right now. Alright, what else we got? What else we got? Alright, lister get clicked item. Init list state, try init lister state. There we go, now we have some consistency with naming. Everything says lister everywhere. And next, what is next, actually? Right. This thing, which was calling the refresh handler and not then updating, can now do lister update UI. Perfect. Lister update UI. Ba-doop. And that takes the app pointer that we already have. Scratch. You sure it takes a scratch? Yes, it does take a scratch. Global partition. Scratch that. Scratch the view in question, and we need to get that view's lister state. View get lister state view. Very close now. Now the only problem is that these things here don't know about the fact that they have to pass the global partition in for scratch memory in case the activation handler activates the refresh handler. Yeah. Yeah. Ah, okay. Alright, so now that part of this function is done. We can continue and refresh. There's still one last thing for us to do, because after we can click and press enter on anything, we can still also activate this with a text field instead that doesn't match any of the items for such purposes as creating new files. This is fairly straightforward too, and it can also start like this. No, it looks similar to this, but is different. Let's say that. Okay, you know what? Here's how crazy life is. You know how crazy life is? Okay. Whoops. Whoop. Yeah. Text field. There we go. And badoop. Badoop. Okay. If we've gotten that far, now we have the full file name, no matter which of those cases we're in. So if we have that and user data does not equal 0, then do that. Then otherwise, if the user data does equal 0, then no matter what the name is, we take the full path, the full file name, and we create a buffer with it. So either it does not have a slash at the end, and it does have a user data, and therefore we're activating the user data's file name, or we don't have a user data, in which case we're activating the text field to create a new buffer. How about that? And now, in theory, if everything is bugless, I can open files. There's 4coder auto indent. There's config grammar, I assume. Yeah. Okay. I can scroll around and click to get seek. I can type in 4coder lib /new file.txt, and the right thing does not happen. Instead, the wrong thing happens, and that bears further investigation. I must be getting a user data. So let's take a quick peek-a-rooney at that. Yeah, I did get a user data. How did I get a user data? Is what I want to know. It came in from here. Okay, well how did it get a user data then? It's right there. But how does this have a user data? Oh, okay. Boop, 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 doop, boop, boop. And now let's find out where this guy comes from. Index 1. Wait, what? Raw item index. Oh, the raw item index. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. So let's go to line 21. If the raw item index is in between the smallest and largest possible raw item indexes, then we will get the user data this way. And raw item index, yes, so right here we set the raw item index, but before then we will always set the raw item index to -1 so that it will have to match every time for it to keep counting. Okay. Bum 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 bum. That doesn't work, so gotta figure that out still. Ooh, that does work, but it's messed up. So I click here. It doesn't change the darn thing. Oh, wow, that's a problem. Isn't that a problem? That seems like a problem. Okay, I want to go to languages/new file.txt. There it is. Okay, so we got that part working, but we have this other bug happening now, which is when I activate a folder, I also need to not only set the hot directory, but I need to set the text field on the lister. Do I have the lister anywhere? I don't have the lister anywhere. So continue and refresh. When I refresh, why don't I automatically... That's what I should be doing. So, where is that little lister list mode? Use default handlers. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, never mind. Lister set. Yes, this part. Take that to generate hot directory. So the first thing I do whenever I'm generating the hot directory is I set my text field and my key string. Okay, there we go. And uh-oh. Let's try that again. What do you mean, don't know where Scratch is? You don't know about Scratch? Oh, you're right. You don't know about Scratch. Sorry about that. You don't know about state? Oh, you're right. You don't need to know about state. It's not your problem. That's still kind of the whole point. Alright, so now, whenever we fill the item list, we will also make sure that those fields have been updated. So, if there's just been a refresh, or some kind of change to the hot directory, we can just run a refresh, I mean to say, and we will not have to manually fix the lister, because running the refresh not only fixes the items in the list, running the refresh also fixes the text fields. At least for this particular lister. Okay. API. Uh-oh. Oh, 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 oh. Oof. Okay. Oops. Oops are in order. I am very oops about that. Let's put a breakpoint right there. Let's open this up and let's try A. Okay. So here we go. Wait, why we're that's not good. Maybe I can't. Maybe I can't do what I was doing. I don't think I can do that. Why am I calling the refresh handler here, though? I don't understand that. I only need to call the refresh handler if I just set the hot directory, right? Am I right? Yeah, that's right. Okay. I don't know why that was leading to... Oh, shoot. Okay, that explains that. And now what we need to do is refresh handler. The refresh handler is only to be called on the occasions where we actually set the hot directory. Let's try that out. Foo, okay, API, enter. That's pretty close. I can't exactly say that I know for sure why it did what it did, but I got some ideas, you know, which, that's not my debugger, that's 4coder. Sad face. Yeah, we're gonna put a breakpoint right here. Boom. Okay. Oh, hey. Hey, 'cause it's backwards. Okay. Are there any other places where I screwed that part up? So if not that and not that, then that. If that or that, then that. If that or that, then yeah. Okay. We almost have the file lister version up and running, which is pretty dopey. There's custom. Here's a new file.txt. Didn't need new file.txt. I still don't have. Yes, that's another thing I have to get. The sure to kill stuff actually is still missing too. I don't really want to ship without that. That would be a very serious regression. Sure to kill. Okay. Foo/backspace. Jumping.cpp. Click. Boom. Boom. Uh-oh. So upon activation, if I continue and refresh, I also need to accompany that with, let's see, where is the thing that does state, right, move up, okay, here it is. State item index equals 0. Whenever I continue and refresh from an activation, I should probably also... Darn it again. Ugh. Okay, so I need to get that state and pull it out this time. Lister state equals, there we go. Okay, so I always set the item index back to 0 if we continue and refresh. Just that way it's not a problem anymore for anyone to deal with. And there we go. I don't have a project directory, that's why. So this is actually going to have a problem too, which is a little bit more serious that I hadn't thought of before, which is that if the hot directory changes and I don't get a notification about it, then this will fall out of sync with the world. Like, so yeah, that's a little bit annoying, but again, I'm not dealing with that. I'm not dealing with that nonsense yet. But I think the main things are all there, right? Yeah. We're far enough along now that it's time to upgrade the version number. Because it'll only be a week or two before I start running the package script on this. Open or new? Check. Check. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna whip out open and new and kill today. And then we'll maybe take a break and reevaluate. See what we can do next. See if there's anything left for it to do today. This has been a long 4coder Friday. It has been one of my best in a long time. I knew this was a good day. I just knew going into it. I knew at the beginning of this 4coder Friday was going to be epic. So, what have we implemented so far? We've implemented interactive switch buffer and interactive open or new. Now for the wholesale destruction of a lot of nonsense. You come over here. You and you. Wait. Sorry. You stay here. You and you and you come over here. All the old interactives are being re-implemented right here, right now. Here goes. So kill buffer is another buffer list type. So I'm just going to copy that exactly. Kill. Activate kill buffer. Activate kill buffer will have the following behavior. It grabs its buffer ID, view get lister state, state initialized equals. Wait, what? What? You get on up out of here. Stop that. Yeah, and I don't really need to pass memory in if I can deduce what the memory is, right? It's not necessary. So why don't we just drop that and do state arena dot where I used to do memory arrows, you know? And state arenas where I used to do star memories, and ampersand state arenas where I used to do memories. And, you know, again, ampersand state arenas where I used to do memories. Okay, there we go. That's good. So, is there anything else that I'm missing, or does that just kind of work and I have to fix up the calls? As long as I'm using the view to get the states anyway, now that that's available information, you know? Wait, I have the state out here. Why don't I just pass the state in? What am I doing? That would avoid that extra call to get state everywhere. Okay. Lister state lister equals address of state lister, and then we can delete you, and you can just do that. Lister call activate handler, don't need you. Man, this got so much better when I just organized all the code together that was related to itself. Yikes. Okay. So that is done and working. What else? Honestly, why? Oh, I do because I already have the state from outside. Right. Oh, yes, those things. Okay. Kill buffer. Yes. How do I activate the kill buffer stuff? Well, like up here, I get the buffer ID, but then instead of view setting the buffer, whoa! Good thing I have undo implemented. Kill buffer. Boop. Doop doop doop. Buffer identifier. Buffer identifier. Buffer ID. What a dumb API idea. Should fix that someday. View ID. View ID. Flags. What kind of kill flags do we got? Is not currently implemented. Always kill is set. It is set indicates the buffer should be killed without asking, even when the buffer is dirty. No flags. There we go. Okay. So there's interactive kill buffer. Before this day is done, I want to compress all of that duplicated code I've created by copying from interactive switch buffer the template, the boilerplate. I want a call that just does the boilerplate, you know? Okay. Interactive new. So I can't exactly remember how interactive new is supposed to work, but the good news is I have the old code over here, and I can scroll through it. Alright, so things I'm seeing. Pressing enter does nothing. If it's... Okay, pressing enter always creates a new file, I guess. Hook new view show file, view set file, edit buffer bind, buffer set, buffer bind file. Working second, buffer bind name, init normal file. And you're making it empty. Okay, makes sense. If the file already exists, you're clearing it. Interesting. Okay, and what does always new do? Always new. It said it indicates the buffer should be cleared to empty even if its associated file already has content. Alright, cool. So, what if the buffer already was open though? Not so sure. Create buffer. Alright, cool. So, what we're going to do is loop over here and just zoop some of this and then plop it, right? And then let me pull up the chat. I haven't seen the chat for a couple minutes now, I feel like. No, stop it. There we go. Oh, bye Jim. Have a good night. Thanks for hanging out for so long. Alright, so we want to activate new. The way it handles the folders will be the same. I see what needs to be different. So the idea is quite simply, if the user data does not equal 0, then do this. By default, we'll always do this on this one. So do this. If the file name dot stir file name dot size -1 equals /, then what we're going to do is we're going to set is folder to true. And we're going to do that. No. We're going to do that. Yeah, that's it right there. And so that means we only set the file name to the item's name if we not only had user data, but it was a folder. If we have an item and it's a file, we won't actually use the file name. And then, because this is new, not open or new, and then full file name equals get hot directory. Yes, and we do the same work we did before, putting together that. Okay. And then we file name dot stir size -1 equals the / and user data is not 0. Then we set the hot directory and we continue and refresh. We set the hot directory to the thing that is the folder. Right. So this is if is folder. Then we do that. Otherwise, we do this, and we use the creation flag buffer create always new. This tells it that I want it to make new buffers always under all circumstances. And if the buffer is already open, I'm not sure how that will behave, so we're going to test it. And then we finish. Okay. So there's a lot more boilerplate. Again, we're copying and pasting a lot of lines here. We're at 475 lines, and it can probably be like 300 if we reduce all the duplication. New. Alright, let's see what happens if I go to languages, enter, it pulls up. What if I do 4coder, what if I do java.h? That's the question. Boom, it opened java.h. It didn't even clear it out to 0. Okay, so we have some problems, clearly. Let's take a, oh, well I can tell you what the first darn problem is. Silly me. Open or new needs to just say new now. That's the problem with having too much boilerplate, is too much code to remember if you've actually, like, to see clearly that you've finished doing everything you need to do. Okay, let's try this again. Languages. Oh, what's this? It made lang, it made it new, so that's not right either. Oof, there's a problem. 457, got it. Zip. New languages java.h. Boom. Alright, cool. And what if I typed in 4coder language java.h? Okay, then it doesn't come up empty because it already existed as a buffer, or because always new doesn't work. Which one is it? It didn't exist as a buffer. So always new doesn't even work. Okay. So a couple things to deal with. The first is that if we get this far down and the file name .stir or .size is 0, then we just want to go ahead and bail right then, I think. There we go. Not a fan of line counters, question mark? Not sure what you mean. Do you mean as in lines along the side, or like CLOC? I use CLOC, but I don't like putting lines right here, personally. Yeah. I mean, I leave them in Visual Studio because if I had my debugger in 4coder, I wouldn't leave them. But for debugging, when I need to see what line has a bug and skip to it, I find it convenient to have them here. But I don't really ever need them here because I never in 4coder looking at a line number and needing to reference it to something else. You know, just doesn't come up that often. At least I don't think it does. So, what is it that I need to do next? I need to figure out why this didn't work. Wait, if I'm pressing enter, that's different than if I'm clicking. Okay, so I need a couple things. Boop boop. Yeah, right here. Activation function. In addition to all of this, I would like to have activated by mouse. Okay, and now tell me about how everything doesn't build. Great. Okay, so yeah. Please pass that through there. Activated by mouse. Next. Yeah, for relative line numbers, you would totally want something to indicate stuff on lines. Agreed. Activate. So this is false. This is true. And now you're going to get all worried about whether or not these signatures match, which they don't. I already knew that. Alright, activate kill buffer. Activate open or new. Activate new. And this is where this comes into play, because if I click with the mouse, then that changes this. Because then, because then I want to use the full name of the thing I clicked on, not just the partial name I had typed in. And then, but if I press enter, of course, I want to use the partial name typed in, is what I'm saying, not the completion to it. File name.size does not equal 0, result equals lister activation finished. String full file name get hot directory. Yep. So these things involve taking the hot directory, making sure it has a slash if it doesn't already, and then putting the file name on it. If we're doing folder mode, then we set the hot directory and we ask for a continue and refresh. If we are creating buffers, we create this buffer here and then set that to the view, and then for some reason that doesn't actually get through here. Buffer create always new should be saying do new file. If we're saying do new file, then file equals we alloc always a new file there. Okay, what if the file already existed? Okay, so we still need to add to this that we cleared 0 if the buffer was already open. Yeah. Function names don't have unique color because I don't have a parser that determines what names are functions and what ones aren't. Like, for instance, would you color this and not this? This is a function name and this is a macro. Would you color this? Would you color this? Is that a function? No, it's a keyword. But what if it's a macro that replaces if? Is that a function? It's not really fun trying to parse C++ very much. So I just lex it and do what I can with that. A lot of editors, like if you look at Visual Studio, they're just like, who knows, weird, just doing weird stuff. Like here they're all white. Let me see if I can find an example of them. I guess on this document they're not choosing to do it. I'm not using the newest version either. The one at work will just be like random, like, oh, this one is blue and this one is blue, but these ones are white, and like, you don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be too hard to just do a thing that's like, if you see a identifier followed by a parenthesis, color it, and just hope that you're doing the right thing. But I don't really want to do a bunch of special cases right now because someday I'm going to just open it up for customization anyway, and then you can do it yourself. Right, so we're going to walk through that and figure out what's going wrong there. Voop, boop, loop, doop. 4coder language java.h. Weird. Okay, that didn't even go through the code path I thought it would. Wait, what? Did I not rebuild? What's going on here? Okay, well that kind of explains it. And now what's messed up? Now what's messed up? If that is why don't you just walk me through that? Alright. So we have a user data, yes. We get the item names, languages. Does it have one of those? Yeah, so here's the file name. Here's the is folder. Size equals 0? No. Oh, shoot. Okay, 469. If it is equal to 0, then we quit early. Otherwise, we do the work. Okay, now back onto this mystery. New ling 4coder language java.h. Alright, so we go boop, boop, and we zoom in. We stick it. And we start walking. It's good. We get the canonical name. Do new file because we don't have this name sitting around yet. That's good. So I go here. Working set contains name. Doesn't. So we don't get it by file name, we don't get it by buffer name, or we couldn't find it by canonical name, we couldn't find it by buffer name. So there's still no file, and we go, are we doing a new file? Yes. Okay. Allocate the new file. Bind the name. Emit a normal file. Nice, empty buffer, we're ready to be filled. Okay. Oops. So let me double check something here because I'm suspicious something weird is happening. Full file name. File name. Item name? What was item name? User data, char star. Okay. So that was just that. And then we got the hot directory. That looked like that. And we stuck the file name on there, which should have... Oh, the text field... Oh, we can't... Okay. So this needs to be front of directory. Yeah, strings and integers can be colored separately. I just don't like that. In fact, it's pretty new for me to even use any colors besides a comment color and a non-comment color. My fish sensor. No, my fish sensor works a little bit differently. My fish sensor is this thing where I look at the code and I just go, I can't say that there's something wrong with this that I can point out, but I feel like I've been down this road before and wasn't happy. You know? There's something fishy going on. And so I'm just going to back up and think about just do it in a different way where I don't feel like it's fishy. Okay, so see that right there? That doesn't make any sense. Why didn't it trigger this breakpoint? Did I hit new? 4coder language java.h. Okay, I wasn't hitting new. That's the problem. Buffer size, okay. So boom. Now, let me try and open that, and then I'm going to 4coder language java.h. Okay, so we do need to make it clear the buffer when we new a buffer up. Okay. So always new if it's always new when we get to the end. So if file does not equal 0 and it's always new, oh shit, I copied too much. And it's always new, then what we're going to do is do I have like a file clear or something? File.cpp, file edit, do edit. This is going to be under view, isn't it? Edit. Some kind of edit function. You know what, why don't we just... Okay, where is it? Edit. Show me edit. I know there's a call that lets me do an edit. Oh, I have a new... Okay, here it is. Yep. Edit single. There it is. Okay. So all I have to do is just i32 size equals buffer get size buffer size state.buffer pointer, and if that size is greater than 0 and we're trying to always new, then we have to do an edit single. Here's the system pointer, here's models, here's the file of interest. From the beginning to the end, replace it with nothing at all. Booyah. Speaking of booyah, I said speaking of booyah, alright. I gotta make sure that doesn't cause a leak while I do that kind of thing. Boom. Okay. Now suppose I open it and then boom. Okay. And suppose I open it. No, wait. Suppose I open it. Uh-oh. Might have accidentally saved it. So, row situation commencing. Someone get Houston on the phone because, well, do I have to sing it? Oh, that explains it. Weird though. I don't like that. Why did that happen? Oh, because it just applies an edit. Right. Okay, so I want to do it differently then. You go away. You goodbye. You... Yeah. Okay. And... I guess that means that the kill function doesn't work right now because of the sure to kill being missing. Anyways, this is all bad. Don't do that. Instead, at some point along the way, if we find that we have found a file, so if file is not equal to 0, but you know, there's no way of avoiding it. Yeah. No, I had it right originally. Yep. There we go. So, that's how we do new and kill. And okay then. So yep, okay, that works. So, lastly, we want to do interactive open, a somewhat less popular command these days because interactive open and new seems to work for everybody. But, you know, it's not that hard to implement, so here we go. Take me to the lists. It's our last list of the day before we compress all the duped list code. Give me the copy of open and or new. Okay. We still use the text open, except now we're only activating with open. And the difference is that if... Oh, and you know what? While I'm at it, while I'm interactive opening or newing, I should also apply that rule here that the file name.size is equal to 0 implies that we just skip... Uh-oh. Okay, I didn't put the end temp in there on that one. Good. But I did put it in there on that one. I knew it! That's why I said uh-oh. Okay. Okay, now, if I go back down to new or open or new, whatever. You know. Who's even keeping track? There we go. Now, the only big thing is that if user data equals 0, then nothing's going to happen. You have to activate something because we don't let you activate things that don't already exist. And so then you'll get that size thing catching you, and the rest of it is exactly the same, and that's why it's going to be so easy to compress that code. Alright. Okay. So that's that. I'm not even bothering to test it because I don't have it bound to anything, and it's seriously that simple. The difference between this and interactive open or new is that this only activates if it actually activates an item. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So that's all of the file management lists. There's still the font system, the theme system, and the sure to kill stuff and sure to close stuff. which is sort of different flavors of other things that need to be done. Some of them don't even fall under the purview of lister, of the lister stuff that we've been doing this week. But so far, so good. I'm going to take a quick break to let my brain sort of calm down, because this has been a 2.5 hour session at this point, and I can tell that I'm a little bit I'm worn a little bit thin now. And, you know, now that I say that, I'm realizing that this has been a very long day, and I'll probably do the deduplication off screen. So I think that we've seen the last of 4coder Friday for this week. That said, thanks to everyone who came out to check it out. It's been awesome, I hope. It was fun for me. It was a very, very productive day. We now have all of the file listing and buffer listing stuff back up and running. You know, let me just pull it up one more time. You know, we can do stuff like I can you know, open up auto indent. I can say what do I want to kill and kill that one. I can switch between buffers. I can open up files and browse around again. There is one thing I should do before we call it quits. There's one thing I absolutely have to do before we call it quits. I just remembered it, and that's when I'm generating a hot directory file list. Right here, this nonsense. I don't like the way that it sorts. So what we have to do to fix that is basically iterate the file info twice. The first time through, we are going to go like this, and we're going to say if it's not a folder, then continue. You know, just breeze right by. Second time through, we're going to say if it is a folder, then continue. We can simplify some other stuff too. This guy can just look like this, and this guy here can just look like this, which means this is not a pre-alloc string anymore. And there we go. That's what we do to get folders. And then to get files, all we have to do is, we don't need to pre-alloc that anymore, actually, funny enough as it is. And so you're not pre-alloced, boom, 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 but you are. And that's because we have to do all this stuff to figure out the status. And so now there's almost no code duplication except for the stuff that controls the iteration, that 4 lines there. And the list add item looks duplicated, but it's actually different between the two. Oh, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Yeah, I still have to push a string copy here onto the arena, because this uses that pointer as a user data, and so it can't be a local pointer. It has to be a pointer to something on the arena, which means that in fact this is still pre-alloced. Okay, done. And that is how easy it should be to manipulate these lists in the custom API. A little victory sipping. I'm going to have to do that for the buffer lists too, because you normally want to sort your buffer lists by most recently visited, which we're not doing right now, but we can. So that's not done yet, but that'll be done in the future, maybe off screen this week. Alright, so that's it. That's 4coder Friday. We're getting there. This thing is going to get done in a few weeks, I think. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.